Hi, it's Arati from Brown Bear Herbs. I have my friend with me today, Cutie. And today I'm going to talk about people who smoke for social reasons and some of the couple herbal blends that we have that help with that. Especially for people who feel like they're smoking partly as a social lubricant. And also, I'm going to talk about another great social lubricant, which is love. And yeah, so our two main social smokes that we have are True to You and Sexy Smokes. And True to You is really great if you are smoking mostly when you're drinking or doing other drugs. Smoking socially specifically. So if you're the type of person who um, goes um, goes out, we're still socially isolating many of us, but even people are hanging out and people are going to parties and gatherings and stuff like that. So if you're the type of person who smokes socially, partly as like habitually or as a way to feel more natural when you're with people that you don't know. Like sometimes if you're with somebody and you don't know what to say to them, you might have a cigarette together. Or if you start drinking and all of a sudden a pack of cigarettes come out. I meet so many people who tell me that they do not smoke all week long and then they will smoke a pack while they're drinking for a single night. And some people are smoking more at home while they're drinking during the pandemic. So either way, it's this blend is really helpful for two things. One is for people who have a tendency towards multiple addictions. And maybe you don't want to control your drinking, or maybe you don't drink at all because you're trying to control your drinking. But either way, you have that tendency, and the cigarettes come out as a way to deal with that. So you don't have to be being social to have a true to you moment. You could also just be struggling with wanting to have a drink and a cigarette, and you could try having a true to you instead, and that can be helpful. Those herbs have been used historically for people dealing with drug and alcohol addiction, and obviously now I'm recommending them for also tobacco substitute. Um, so I really love that one because it also does help a lot with social dynamics. All three of the herbs in there, yerba santa, California poppy, and violet, are all have a historical usage of drug and or alcohol abuse or tendency to abuse. But they also all have a historical use as for socializing, for making socializing easier. So California poppy tends to be like your typical California vibe, like you think of like in the 70s when people flocked to California to follow musicians and stuff like that. And there's like the glamour of California and these artists. And so if you tend to go to see a lot of shows or really be enamored of different artists, performers, then California Poppy could help you with that. And I feel it helps you be able to relate to those people you admire a little bit differently and honor yourself more. Um, you'd still be like thinking they were probably very cool, but you would maybe not get so swept up in the the glamour, especially like maybe being able to separate out like the admiration you have for their artistic strengths versus some of their less positive lifestyle choices. So it gives you a little bit of detachment, and I love that herb. And then yerba santa, really great for people who are not owning as much of their leadership as they have in the past. So um, sometimes when we do use drugs or alcohol, it can cause us to lose some of our strength and leadership abilities. That herb is totally amazing. Like it connects you with this like amazing force within you, power within you. I have seen it in people that I've seen smoking it, and it is truly beautiful. And that's inside of you already. So just reconnecting with that strength and power that's within you. And then violet, more about people who tend to be more reserved and aloof and or distant seeming in social situations. So like maybe when you're at a party, you would just stand off to the side and have a cigarette because you don't know what to do. I find that either way, it's like they're kind of like a group of friends, these three herbs. Like they all do different things, but they hang out socially. So they all kind of like one of those herbs that's bound to help you if you have any kind of weirdness about socializing. So I love that blend. And so many people I know who've tried all the blends, they end up really enjoying that one. It really does work as a social lubricant. It really does help people who are feeling just, even if you're hanging out with people you know and love, it's really fun to smoke a True to You with those people because you find that you might just be like relaxing into each other in a way that feels more natural and comfortable. And also some people might find that because they're not as sucked into like social glamour or artists that they're like we're so excited about when they smoke the True to You, they might just find themselves honoring their own like choices over just, following along. So I love True to You. And Sexy Smokes is very popular with people who tend to like True to You. You can have Sexy Smokes by yourself or socially. It does have aphrodisiac properties, which some people experience that more strongly than other people. So I recommend trying it for yourself, maybe by yourself, since we're all isolating these days, or many of us are. You can try it by yourself first just so you know like how it's going to affect you, because not everybody has that strong aphrodisiac feeling, but some people do have a very strong response to that physically. So you might want to know ahead of time. But I would say that the response that most people do have is feeling more grounded and more confident, which is in a more sensual way. So that's desirable for most people. I feel like if you're going out to be social, especially if you're single or not in a long-term committed relationship, wanting to feel like you're very confident and comfortable and rooted in a playful kind of fluid way. So if that sounds good to you, then you can try Sexy Smokes. I also like Astral as a social smoke, but as I write on the box, I don't recommend texting or driving while you're smoking Astral and Body. So that's another one where you might want to try it out with some people that, well, I don't know. You could try it out with whoever you want, but it tends to bring out the zany in everybody. So if you're hanging out with people that you're not really on the same wavelength as, and you all smoke it, then you could all end up feeling pretty zany and having a pretty good laugh here and there, and just enjoying talking about some more eccentric topics. But it is kind of a wild card. So if you're smoking it socially, I would say just be cautious about what you do, because you might look back on the experience and feel like maybe that wasn't 100% the personality inside of you that you want to protect somebody who wasn't there, or or maybe you were just not as focused for driving or whatever. It is not it's more of an experience. Yeah, especially depending on how sensitive you are. Since none of the herbs in my cigarettes are controlled substances, it does require you to be a little bit more sensitive and tuned in. Anyway, but so I really hope that you, if you are somebody who smokes tobacco, Or I do hear from a lot of people that they are thinking about smoking tobacco and trying mine as an alternative. In either way, I would say, yeah, I hope that you try one of mine, especially these ones for your social dynamics, because it's going to be better for you and they're not addictive. So you can, and it's more of it's not an addictive like arc spike to the experience with, like tobacco, you get like the buzz and then you come down and want another cigarette. So they're not addictive and they are filled with natural medicine. So you don't need to smoke a bunch of them, especially like when you're doing the bar smoking and you have been doing some drinking and you would normally smoke a pack. I just don't hear of people smoking a whole bunch of my cigarettes in a row, which is good because I'm all about smoking less. So, yeah. But then I did want to talk about love as a social lubricant. And this kind of came to me the other day. I was thinking about it. And basically, I think that when you love yourself more accepting of yourself, which is a big factor if you're having issues socializing or discomfort socializing, is like maybe you're not accepting yourself as much as would be ideal. And it's hard, especially if you're younger, or, depending on how you were raised to see yourself. It can be hard to just accept yourself as who you are, especially if you're around people who you think are cooler than you or you admire, something like that. So the way that I have learned to accept myself more is I definitely have learned a lot from plant medicine and flower essences, which I'm going to start doing more videos about flower essences that I have, and we'll be offering more of those. But I every time you take in an herb, you have the opportunity to just kind of tune out and hope for the best, or you can ask to learn from that herb. And I feel like you're consuming a plant intelligence, and that plant is teaching you about things that you don't understand so well, but they do. And they're learning something about you too, because they're going into a human, and that's affecting like the plant spirit consciousness. That's my experience. But I also have learned a lot about loving myself more through the practice of meditation. I have been meditating for over 20 years, and every day for, sometimes my practices can be like probably on average like 2 hours a day, not just meditation, but it's been different things throughout the years, also yoga and mantras and stuff like that. And I was recently thinking about like why is it I feel like I've gotten so much from meditation? Like, what have I gotten, and what is that why do I keep coming back to it, and what does it mean? Like, why would you do this practice? Because most people that I talk to, they're like, I was thinking about meditating, I sat down for 10 minutes and it was just like I had a bunch of thoughts in my head and it was totally boring, or I couldn't focus, it didn't work, and I'm not going to do it. It's a big investment to do something every day, even if it's for 10 minutes. It's a big investment in yourself. So when I thought of this social lubricant thing, and then the inspiration came of love, all of a sudden it clicked. And I was like, you know what? When I sit, I'll just speak for myself. When I sit and meditate, a lot of times I don't feel like it's working or like I'm having this spiritual experience. There's been like times when I felt like years have gone by where I didn't feel like it was working at all. In fact, I had a head injury at one point, and I just was like, I'm sitting here and that's about all that's happening, but it really helped me during those times. And but when I'm sitting there, even when it's not working and I'm just practicing, not having the meditation experience, I'm just practicing being ready, practicing letting go of my thoughts or letting go of my emotions or whatever. What I'm doing is sitting, I'm holding space for myself. And I'm like letting go of a lot of my reactions to just keep breathing and focusing on mantra and my third eye. in my case. There's some different ways to meditate, but I found that most of the traditional ones involve some focus on breath, mantra, and often the third eye, but other chakras sometimes. So we all know, or hopefully all of us know what it is like to have someone sit and hold space for us. Like, there's probably been like one person at least in all of our lives, like a relative, like for me, my grandmother. We didn't have a lot in common. She was a very different person than me, but she just was there, and she was ready to be there for more. She was there for me, and she just sat there. And a lot of times we would just talk about the weather or whatever. No deep conversations, but there was just her being there in a way that other people weren't. Or friends, or even a teacher. Like when someone just sits and is allowing you to feel or think or talk, just be there, just being there with you. So, a lot of us have also had people in our lives who did not know how to hold space for us. Or, like me, I like to try to hold space for other people, but, we are all screwing up all the time or improving all the time, depending on how you want to look at it. So, even if I feel like I'm holding space for someone, I might find out later that I could have done a better job, or because they tell me, or I might just reflect on it and I would be like, I see this thing differently than I did before. I was wanting something and I needed to just be holding space. So if you had people in your life who didn't hold space for you, like maybe your emotions weren't acceptable to your parents, or, or your behavior was never up to standards or something. So maybe you didn't get as many messages as you needed to hold space. Or with our attention span these days, with the media and cell phones and everything, it's estimated that the average attention span is like a couple seconds long these days. For that's something that like marketing people look at. Like you got like 2 seconds basically to grab somebody's attention. So that's very short, and that makes it hard to have a deep connection with someone. So as I sit and I am watching over and over again and practicing returning to a more still practice of the breath, my third eye, mantra, I'm practicing holding space for myself, and I'm practicing letting go a lot of my reactions. And then when I'm in my regular life, it's easier for me to detach again from my reactions to things and hold space for other people and hold space for what I'm feeling, like understanding that I'm having some anger or upset or whatever it is, and just being able to sit with that and not react by going out and doing something I might regret or getting really depressed, just sitting there with that, just allowing it to be. And to me, that is also about being in my heart. So I realized that by doing this over and over again, that I've learned how to love myself in a profound way. And the goal of many spiritual practices is to develop unconditional love and for the world, for everyone. And how can you do that if you don't have unconditional love for yourself? So how does this relate to your social life and your smoking cessation goals? Well, it is helpful to be able to like observe your desire for something you're addicted to and like hold off on that. But also just saying that the more you able to love yourself as who you are, which is not maybe the coolest person at the party, and everyone has their own, everyone's like a little prism is how I see it. Like you all are just magical in your own way, showing light through yourself in your own way. So you may not live up to your own, you may not previously have thought that you lived up to your own goals for how cool you wanted to be, but if you can learn to love yourself for who you are, then when you go and you socialize with people, you can accept yourself as who you are, be comfortable with yourself as who you are, and do take care of yourself. Like, honor what is appropriate for you. It might not be appropriate for you to have a drink or do drugs with somebody because they're cool and they ask you. It may be more appropriate for you to lead people to a new activity, or it may be more appropriate for you to go off and nurture yourself in a different way. So once you have more of that self-nurturing and self-love and self-acceptance, then you can greet other people in a way that has more of that for them as well. And that will make it easier to socialize. And it's a really different vibration. But in the meantime, and maybe even beyond, I offer you some of my herbal smoking blends to help with finding healthier alternatives to tobacco. I wish you well. If you like this video, please like and subscribe.